Is the K1 series a total ripoff of Bambu? Is Bambu gonna die and burn? Should you buy the K1? Does the K1 have Klipper? All of these questions I'm going to be talking about in this video. Before I get into this, I have a K1 and a K1 Max coming to the channel. I'm going to have a very detailed review of these machines, so we're going to get them firsthand and we're going to know and we're going to be able to answer everything. But right now, everything is speculation. So obviously, we know the basic specs. We know the size, the speeds. We know that it has LiDAR. We know that it has AI detection. We don't have to cover any of that. I just want to really discuss some of the things that are kind of going around the internet and just things that people don't know necessarily immediately. So is this printer going to be capable of the actual speeds that they say? Assuming that it is a rigid frame, that it looks like it is, the answer is most likely going to be yes, because here we see the A and the B motor on a Core XY. You have an A and a B, you don't have an X and a Y. These A and B motors are monstrous, so I am confident that assuming that the belts are, tightened from factory or cut to the correct length, I should say, assuming, the actual physical build of the machine is good and quality control is good, I'm pretty confident that these motors will be able to drive the printer the way they say. Now, people have lots of concerns with Creality and their quality control. Creality in the past has been known to have a little bit of poor quality control. I think within the last year and a half that is not the case anymore. I have acquired quite a few Creality printers in the last year and a half, or I've seen the quality of them firsthand from friends. And I will tell you, I definitely think Creality has taken a step in the right direction to up their quality control. Unfortunately, with the manufacturing process being pretty much all human in the loop, there's going to be quality control issues. Someone at a factory line is not going to tighten a screw correctly or going to tighten a belt correctly. Someone's going to have a bad day and they're going to drop a part, not realize it broke, and they're going to install a broken part onto your printer. That's going to happen pretty much in every manufacturing line. And otherwise, I think for the most part, really, Creality has done a pretty good job. One thing that people are curious about is the build plate. We have a really good depiction of this build plate right here. It is not a textured PEI plate. This build plate does appear to be textured in some way, maybe ever so slightly. I don't know exactly what's going on here, because they do claim that it's a smooth build plate. Maybe that's just the coating that was put on it. The coating looks like it's textured, but it's not. I don't know, but Creality claims that the build plate is smooth. It is a flex build plate, of course, in today's day. If you have a printer that doesn't have a flex build plate, you're falling behind the times. So we'll have to see how this operates. I do have a printer that I believe is going to have has a very similar build plate to what the K1 series is going to have, and it is too sticky. So there is a chance that the K1 series is going to have a build plate that needs an interface layer in order to actually remove parts. So kind of go down here and talk about their marketing here. Obviously, 12 times faster, defy limitations. Guys, this is marketing lingo. Marketing lingo has been constantly in development since mass marketing has been a thing, right? This is ridiculous. They're basing this off of 50 millimeters per second. That's just not what most printers are capable of. Most printers from the factory line are capable of 80 to 100 millimeters per second, depending on the level of calibration that they are. But that's directly from factory. So kind of just, let's say at 100 millimeters per second, that would make this 6 times faster. Now, assuming Creality can actually hit that 600 millimeter per second mark, but if we scroll down here, this says typical speeds are 300 millimeters per second. This text is very small and it's in a color that kind of blends in with the background. So let's just go with the fact that this says 300 millimeters per second as the default. That means that it's not 600. That means it would be 3 times faster. And we're seeing a lot of printers hit 300 millimeters per second right now. The AnchorMake M5, Prusa Mark IV, Bambu, X1 Carbon, P1P. There are printers doing that. So I would think, personally, based off what I've seen on the internet, I would think that 300 millimeters per second is very, very achievable. Now, there is a big difference between 300 and 600. Will we get to the 600? I doubt that, just because that's very, very fast to come from a machine directly from factory. Will we hit 400 or 500? I think that there's a very good possibility that we can do that. This is just going to be one of those things that we have to wait until these machines get into the hands of the consumer for us to really know and find out. But I do believe that at the speed that this is saying, we can do 300. Let's wait and to see about 600 to see if that's actually possible. I want to talk about these models right here. Some more marketing lingo and more marketing stuff that could be happening. We have no idea. This is a very, very good looking benchy. Who knows if this is the benchy that actually correlates to this print time? They could take this print time and then the benchy from a 50-minute benchy. Who knows? I don't think Creality did that. I think they have a lot more on the line, or they have a lot on the line. I don't think they would do that. But we don't really know. These pictures were taken from far away, so we don't know. Down here, there's no stringing on these towers. Maybe that's because the stringing is all really thin wisps, and then they took it in front of a white background, or yeah, behind a white background with lighting that covers up the wisps. So who knows? These pictures, they look good, they look fantastic, but they almost look too good. So maybe they did post-processing. I don't know. Let's not take too much out of these pictures. Let's kind of just, again, let's wait until we get them into the hands of consumer to really know what the machine is capable of. One thing that I do want to point out is a lot of people are asking about the rails, the X rail and the Y rail. Are they carbon fiber like the X1 carbon? And my guess is no. My guess is they're not carbon fiber, because if they were, that would be a big selling point for Creality. They would be marketing that, and they're not. Right now, this says K1 Max is just 190 grams, and it's lightweight. That, if it was carbon fiber is used in, hypercars and supercars and just these cars that have incredible amounts of power and structural stability and stuff like that. And it is a marketing number for them. Cars that sell for $1 million, $500,000, $1 million, they are advertising carbon fiber. So if Creality was using that, they would be advertising it. So my guess is these are just hollow aluminum rods. Realistically, I don't think that's going to matter too much, because assuming that the motors are big enough, and assuming that we've got input shaping and whatever in order to actually get rid of ringing and just kind of forget about the weight of the actual print head and the gantry, it really shouldn't matter, especially if we can hit the 600 millimeters per second that they say we can. The fact that they're not carbon fiber doesn't matter. But point is, they're not carbon fiber in my opinion. We'll see once again when they get into the hands of the consumer. Another thing I want to mention with this picture is the two corners right here. These two corners are supported by rails as well on the Z axis, and we do have a Z lead screw in the back. So we're driven by one motor for the Z axis, but we are supported by 3 locations. So if you are printing something big and heavy, you're not going to have as much drooping as you might have on an Ender 5 or something that doesn't have support on the front of the build plate. Another good thing to look at is the big blower fan here. This is partly what their dual cooling is, right? So you have a standard part cooling fan, and then you have this dual cooling fan. I suspect this is going to be very loud, and hopefully it can be turned off if you're not printing quickly. So to kind of move on, you've got the 32 millimeters cubed per second flow rate and a ceramic heater. We don't know what hot end they're using. This could be a brand new hot end, but assuming Creality is going to do what I think they're doing, and this could be wrong, I think they're going to use this Creality ceramic spider speedy hot end. I have 2 of these in the studio. They're very, very capable. I'm working on a review for them right now, but I do like them, right? So this hot end claims to have 32 millimeters cubed per second flow rate. It's a ceramic core as well, and why would Creality make 2 of the exact same hot end, right? They might make the same one and just paint it a different color so it's not red. I don't know. But anyway, this is what I suspect they're installing on this machine, and if it is a very capable hot end. Is it capable of 600 millimeters per second? I don't know. I've only used it at 250. I haven't tried to push it any further. So let's see, we've got the dual cooling fan. So we've got this auxiliary 12 or 18 watt fan here. This is just for extra part cooling. And we do see this on a bunch of printers that are designed for speed. So the 247 Voron 0, Voron 0.1, it uses an auxiliary fan like this in order to help cooling. So this is not a new thing. So this is hopefully going to help you print faster. If we're blowing too much air, we're not going to cool parts, or we're going to rapidly cool parts, and they're not going to adhere to the layer below it. So the faster you cool parts, right, the less string you get, but also the weaker part that you get. So hopefully this is going to be something that's pre-dialed in from factory, and you don't have to worry about it. We also see the LiDAR here. It's a big module. It's probably not light, and it's going to definitely require you to do input shaping on this hot end, or this hot end assembly, I guess I should say. Luckily, there is a G sensor built in, or you're going to be able to do resonance compensation, I think, very, very easily. It should just be a click of a button. Kind of moving down here, this is a good looking print. You'd pretty much have no flaws here, but this model has no traveling essentially, so I don't know why there would be any flaws. And we have good looking Z lines. So there you go. Creality Print 4.3. This is something that's going to be a kind of a, I don't want to say a make it or break it for me, but this is going to be very, very important for me if this is good. Now, I don't like using slicing softwares that are not open source. So basically, I'm only going to want to use Cura or Prusa Slicer. I don't even use Prusa Slicer, but I would only want to use those two, or a slicer that is very, very heavily supported by the community. And that's because when you're supported by the community, you're going to get the latest and greatest algorithms regularly. You're going to get updates regularly. And I do not want to be locked in with Creality in terms of slicing algorithms, because slicing algorithms are one of the biggest thing that make your print good or bad, right? The better the slicing algorithm gets, the better your print can get. The printer typically is not the bottleneck in terms of the quality of your print. Obviously, it can be if you let your printer go and don't do calibration routines and stuff like that. But generally, the slicer will be the biggest thing to give you high quality prints. And I don't want to be locked in with Creality Slicer. The other thing is, or Creality Print. The other thing is Creality suggests down here somewhere, just gonna kind of skip a little bit, that you can cluster and group your printers for volume. And I am fingers crossed hoping that this will also integrate with the Creality Sonic Pad for clustered printers that are not just the K1. Obviously, the K1 series is the only thing you see here, but I am really, really hoping that Creality can get their act together and integrate Sonic Pad and K1 and everything for full cluster environment, because that means that print farms get very, very convenient. You just load up a whole bunch of files to print. When one printer is done, you click the done button, and then whatever your next printer in line is gets sent directly to that. That would be incredible. If Creality forces you to use their slicer to use that functionality, it's really, really going to be bad. And I would highly recommend that they fix that. This way you don't have to do that. AnchorMake just released their printer recently, and they have their slicer, and you can send files from the AnchorMake slicer to your M5, but you don't have to use the slicer. You can slice in Cura, take that G-code file, put it into the AnchorMake slicer, and then send it from the slicer to the printer via Wi-Fi that way. So at the very least, allow us to slice in a different software and still use the multi-printer control that way. So here you can see Creality Print 4.3. It is just a skin version of Cura. You can look at this toolbar here on the left side of the screen, and then you can compare it to the toolbar here. It's the exact same. It is another reskin version of Cura, which is fine, but probably not going to be updated as regularly. So of course you have AI LiDAR, AI camera. These are all things that we all know about, and there's really no questions about this. Hopefully they allow us to turn this on and off, because on the Bambu Labs X1 Carbon, people say it prints so well that they don't even need the LiDAR, and the LiDAR just slows their print down. So hopefully these are things that can be turned off. Kind of scrolling down some more, I want to get to, and also here you can see the flow control. So this, I presume this is going to be using the exact same algorithm that Bambu Labs uses. with the LiDAR to just measure the width of one line of filament, and that's nice. That's great. It will help you out, but hopefully it's not going to be required because the K1, the standard K1, does not have LiDAR. So hopefully you can still get high quality prints without this flow control. One thing, this is a very large picture of the Bambu, or of the K1 Max, and one thing that I want to now talk about with a large picture here is that this printer doesn't seem to have a very convenient place to put your filament. Now, if you're like me and you have lots of printers and very little space, having your filament holder be in an unknown location on the back of the machine is very, very, very inconvenient. So that means you don't know how much filament is left on your roll. And if I have to climb on a ladder to stand 10 feet above my printer to look behind it to see how much filament is left, I'm not going to be a happy camper. So I think that's what they're doing. I think the filament holder is on the back. At least I hope. I have a video I want to show you soon that makes me think that they might not even include a filament holder to begin with. We do have a USB on here, so we're running USB. We're not running an SD card. That's nice. Most people have USBs, and my other printers, they have USB-C. That's very inconvenient. I don't even own a USB-C storage device, so thankfully Creality went with a standard USB in this case. You get a nice glimpse of the screen here. It looks beautiful. It is on the bottom of the printer. The Bambu Labs X1 Carbon is on the top left. It is a lot easier to access, so you might have to bend over and get a hunchback in order to operate the screen. Maybe the screen will be removable and it can be moved. Maybe it's a magnet, right? If it's a magnet, then you can move it to the side of the printer. I don't know. Also, another thing that is very, very interesting is look on the top of this machine. There is no lid. There's no lid. I'm going to show you in a future picture, there is a lid. So there is no lid here, which might mean the lid is removable, and that is good for upgradability in terms of repairs, changing a nozzle. The lid might not be in the way. So this is a solid sign. You have more about the LiDAR. That's cool. Now, one thing I actually do want to mention is this line right here. Strain sensors in the heat bed generate an accurate leveling mesh for auto compensation. That means the hot end doesn't have extra weight with a BL Touch on it or with a strain gauge on it. That means there's strain gauges built or something, some kind of a strain sensor, whatever they're calling it, built into the hotbed. That means, of course, you have more hardware, so more cost, but you're losing weight on the hot end, and those strain gauges are in a known location. So whenever you probe the bed with the nozzle, it feels that, and the nozzle itself has nothing, no measurement is taken from the nozzle itself. It's just from the strain gauge in the bed. Now there is a concern with this because there has to be some kind of an offset, right? Like the strain gauge isn't on the surface of the print bed. So we'll see how this works. But this is in my opinion somewhat of a new technology. We haven't seen this before. Who knows? Maybe this won't support aftermarket print beds. I have no idea. And if that's the case, that's really, really, really gonna suck, because if you do dig your nozzle into the print bed and damage it, you're gonna have to buy another Creality build plate, and that's probably gonna be expensive. So we'll see how this works and what it's really like whenever we get it into the hands of the consumer. Again, you can see, this is a little interesting to me because this is something I'm noticing for the first time. There is a lid right here. This looks like a hinge lid. So there's a handle right here, but that is not what I've seen in the videos. So this is kind of just a pure box. But what's nice, and what I do want to point out, is this is clear. This is a clear glass lid. If you come over here and look at the Bambu machines, I don't know. I haven't experienced this enough. It looks like there's a handle up here as well, but I don't know if the Bambu has a clear lid, and maybe it does, but nonetheless, if it doesn't, this is a huge, huge win for Creality, because if you can't see what the printer is doing from the top down, you don't know if it's actually failed or not. Sometimes when you start a print all the way at the top, you don't know if the plastic is actually being laid down correctly. And just seeing from an eye level view doesn't really give you a good look. So this is a good look at the screen. It just gives you, it's nice, colorful, looks good. There's not much to say here, but it looks good. It's not grainy in terms of its display. And of course it's stylish. All right, I think this is everything I wanted to talk about here. Oh yeah, there's an air purifier. This is probably a carbon filter. That's very common these days to put a carbon filter. That removes the smell of anything toxic, but it doesn't actually remove toxic fumes. So in a bunch of resin printers, these manufacturers are putting carbon filters in now, and the carbon filter pulls out the odor, so you can print inside. You can do what, but it's still putting toxins into the air that you don't want to breathe, and that's almost more scary to me because now you're breathing in toxins and you don't even know it. So hopefully this is not just a carbon filter, but if it is, be careful because you'll print you'll print ABS and you won't smell it, but you'll be breathing in ABS fumes anyway. Now, one thing that I do want to do is come back to this video, and I have some timestamps that I want to stop the video at. So the first one's going to be here at 5 seconds. This is going to give you a pretty good look at the Creality Print 4.3 in a zoomed in version. You can definitely tell it is very obviously Cura. One good thing about this is if you come over here back to this page and we go back to right here where we talk about the clustered version of print production, these look very, very different. So fingers crossed that this is not Creality Print 4.3. The only sad thing I can say is you can see right here there's 3 tabs, and this far right tab is selected, and when you come over here this far right tab says device. That's scary to me because I think that should say devices plural, and when you click that it pops up maybe with all of the printers. So again, we'll see what happens when we get it into our hands, but hopefully we don't need to use Creality Print 4.3 to operate a print farm cluster. So now we're going to go over to 12 seconds. That scared me. That was really loud in my head. I guess I missed what I wanted to talk about. Where was this? Oh yeah, this is a good look at the screen. So you can see some of the detection items. You have home detection. I have absolutely no idea what this is. That makes no sense to me. Vibration optimization. It sounds like it's just going to be resonance compensation. Auto leveling. I presume this says self-test will take 15 minutes. I don't know why these are check marks. I don't understand this, but anyway, just a good look at what's on the screen there. Now this is what I was wanting to show you earlier. This clear lid right here, you can tell this is a 3-dimensional lid. This is different from the lid that we saw over here on these pages, and actually you can tell none of these printers actually have this lid. So this is a different lid than we're seeing in the other marketing. But the point still stands that this is a clear lid, and you can see through it. So that's a good sign. Being able to see through the lid is very important. So I next want to go over here to 29 seconds. At 29 seconds, we get a good look at the Z rod here. So there is a Z rod. It looks maybe a little thicker and a little bigger than a standard Z rod. I don't know if it's any more rigid, but nonetheless, we've still got one there. Now over here at 32 seconds, this scares me. Right, Creality has a filament holder here. This is something that they sell right now, and you can buy it right now for other printers. I really, really hope that they have a way to actually store the filament on the back of the machine. I think it would be silly for them not to. As best I'm aware, the X1 Carbon has a filament holder on the back of the machine. So if they're mimicking the X1 Carbon like I think they are, or like it's pretty clear they are, then it should be on the back. But this is still scary because I do not want to have to use a standalone filament holder. Over here at 37 seconds, I think you can see right here one of the rods that the front of the build plate is using. And then you can see the rod right here, this X-axis and the Y-axis rod. These are not carbon fiber, or at least they do not appear to be carbon fiber. Okay, moving on. Let's go to 45. Now this is where it gets weird because this rod right here, based off this lighting, this looks like carbon fiber. So again, we're kind of getting thrown for a loop here. Is it carbon fiber or not? I'm going to tend to believe it's not. So 1:09 is where I want to go to next. And at that time, you can see that these rods once again are a different color. They're using lots and lots of different lighting in this video, so it's just really hard to tell what we're looking at. It's a little interesting. And then over here at 1:14 is the carbon filter. Talked about that already. Now, one thing I want to point out here is you can see some issues with the Z on this printer. Or on this print. Don't know why it looks like this. This looks like there's some under extrusion over here in the middle of the print. It looks like down here in the corner there's some under extrusion as well. This print has some issues. This has some flaws. Not sure what's going on here, but there are some flaws. Now, one thing that I want to discuss is the fact that nowhere on this page did they talk about multi-material. That's because they didn't say anything about it. There's no multi-material anywhere. So is it supported? Is it not supported? The answer is all up in the air because you've got the AMS with Bambu. You've got the new MMU with Prusa. You've got the V6 color engine with AnchorMake. That's in development. So lots and lots of multi-material options exist, and why are they not talking about it? I think it would be very unwise of Creality to release this machine but not have a multi-material option in the pipeline. So I think we're going to get one. I think it's just going to be some time, and we're just going to have to wait for it because they're clearly mimicking the X1 Carbon and the P1P, and both of those printers support multi-material upgrades. So I think it's just a matter of time. And if you see all of these machines, they have a very flat top on them. The very flat top will most likely allow for the installing of an AMS, just like the Bambu machine, which is just resting on top. So I suspect we have one in the near future coming, but if we don't, this machine does run Klipper. A lot of you guys might not know exactly how Klipper operates, but Klipper has a very, very detailed manual on how to set everything up, and there's a lot of flexibility. I cannot go over it in this one video. There's just too much. But this does run Klipper, and in my opinion, it is the best way to operate a 3D printer. Klipper printers have the ability to use an open source modification, which is the Enraged Rabbit Carrot, whatever it is. I can't talk. Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder Project. That's what you can do with Klipper. And it costs some money, and it's not exactly the cleanest solution to multi-material, but it works, and it works well. You can see a whole bunch of the objects here on the GitHub that were printed with the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder, and you can print right here. This swatch was printed with nine colors. Essentially, you can print with an infinite number of colors depending on how big you want your object to get. I think that there are some base amounts of multi-material options you can do. I think there's a 3, a 6, and a 9, but I'm sure it can go higher. It's all a matter of how much effort does someone want to put into installing something. But anyway, the point is that we will have this option at the very least. And I'm very, very confident if this machine gets mass marketed with Klipper, which it obviously is, that someone is going to make this compatible with the K1 series if Creality for some reason chooses to not make a multi-material option. And so you can see here that you've got each one of these bays is a bay that holds a 3D printer filament. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9-color multi-material unit. That's significantly more than the Bambu Labs' 4. And then you can just kind of visit this page. This is the Enraged Rabbit Carrot Feeder project. If you Google it, it'll pop up. And so there are some issues in terms of confusion about the K1 series. But guys, I am very, very hopeful that Creality has this in the bag, that they know what they're doing, and just kind of based off some of this deeper dive analysis that I've done and what Creality has shown in terms of their quality over the last year and a half, I am very, very confident that this machine is going to be good. do I recommend someone just go straight out and buy this on a whim? Well, you cannot buy the K1 Max right now. It is not available for pre-order, but the K1 Max is enough money. It's $1,000. It's enough money. I would not recommend buying this before we see how well the K1 works. If the K1 itself is a very, very nice, high quality printer, then I would have no issues pre-ordering the K1 Max. If the K1, this printer is merely $599. I know that's a lot of money to some people, but in terms of a high quality top tier 3D printer, that is pennies on the dollar. That is very, very cheap. If this printer does everything that it says it can do, then I think the K1 Max is definitely a pre-order buy if you want something very premium. Now, at $599, should you pre-order this? I'm going to be honest. I think this is, you can buy a lot of other printers for roughly the same amount of money. So if you're looking for a new printer, this might actually be worth pre-ordering because it's not going to be a bad machine. Does it live up to the marketing? Maybe, maybe not. But at the very least, it's not going to be a bad machine. Now, one thing I want to point out on Creality's store right now, they're saying that every day at 11 a.m., that there's going to be a limited availability. This way they don't sell out all within, an hour like the Mark IV for Prusa did. Mark IV Prusas, they sold out within a couple hours and then there's none available. So you have to wait until they come back and stop. At least Creality is allowing people multiple opportunities to get into the queue and purchase a machine. So if you do want one, make sure you come and you basically refresh this page every day at 11 a.m. And you've got 5 more days to do it because, I think that's when they're going to probably be sold out. My guess is these 2 free filament rolls are basically going to be whenever they expect all of these machines pre-orders to sell out. Oh, that was a long video. That was a big deep dive. Hopefully this provided you guys a lot more insight as to the K1, just a different perspective. Look, we can see here the ledge on this lid again. So which one's new? Is this lid with the 3-dimensional? Is that the one that you're gonna get, or are you gonna get the one with the flat top? Who knows? Anyway, hopefully that this video helped you guys out. Maybe it gave you different insight. If you have any more questions, put them in the comments below. Guys, I will see you in the next video. And don't forget to like and subscribe because I have a K1 Max coming to the studio and I will be reviewing them in full. Let me know if you guys want to see anything special on those videos. Otherwise, I will see you guys later.